All right, folks, it's finally that time. Roster cuts are looming, and the Chicago Bears are just hours away from trimming their squad down to 53 players. The anticipation is high, the debates are endless, and yeah, there's always that one unexpected move that shakes up everything. But before we go live and dive into the chaos of cut day, it's time for the final projection. The last shot at predicting who makes it, who gets stashed, and who's packing their bags. So buckle up. We're going deep. First things first, let's talk about the names that have already been sent packing. Some of these were expected, some not so much, and a few still haven't even been officially confirmed. But based on sources, conversations, and some old-fashioned roster math, here's what we know. Guys like Samori Toure, Royce Freeman, Chris Glazer, Caleb Hayes, and Mark Perry didn't make it. No real shockers there. These are the types of players that often find themselves on the outside, looking in when the roster starts to tighten. But there's also a group like Joel Wilson, who had a pretty decent preseason showing, even leading the team in receptions. That one stings a bit more, not just because he produced on the field, but because he looked like someone who might actually carve out a depth role. The good news? If he clears waivers, the Bears are hoping to bring him back on the practice squad. And then there are the injury designations. 3 players are officially on season-ending injured reserve: Terrell Smith, Shaun Wade, and Deion Hankins. We could still see more names land there, depending on how the final evaluations shake out. Want to watch? Zay Frazier. We'll get to him later, but he's someone who might fall into a more temporary category. Now, based on all of this, the Bears are sitting at around 77 players. So, roughly 24 guys still need to be trimmed to get down to that magic number of 53. And this is where things get interesting. Some of the next cuts are probably obvious to those who've been following closely. Austin Reed is one of them. A solid presence and maybe a locker room guy, but he's not cracking the top 3 at quarterback. J.P. Richardson, Joshua Miles, Ricky Stromberg, Doug Kramer Jr., again, not exactly surprises. Kramer and McFadden both had their chances, but nothing jumped off the screen. Bill Murray? Same deal. Jamry Chroma, Power Eccles, Carl Jones, Alex Cook, and Tysham Johnson are all likely on the way out too. None of these guys made a strong enough push to break into the depth chart. But here's where it gets complicated, the bubble. This is where fans get loud, debates get heated, and front office decisions can get a little controversial. We're talking about guys like Roscoe Johnson, Travis Homer, and Britton Brown. After DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, the running back room is wide open. Injuries have thrown everything out of whack. Homer, if healthy, might stick as a special teamer. Roscoe? It's a total mystery. He's reportedly dealing with a foot injury, but no one's seen him. Not on the sidelines, not in walk-throughs, not anywhere. There's a growing sense something more might be going on. So, the smart move might be to stash him on short-term injured reserve. That way, he's not subject to waivers, and the team can bring him back after 4 weeks. It's one of the few tricks left for teams trying to hang on to talent without burning a roster spot. Wide receiver is just as chaotic. DJ Moore, Rome Oduns, Zach Coase, and Luther Burden are locked in. After that, it gets murky. Devin Duvernay should be in. He's the likely return specialist, even if he's been dealing with injuries of his own. Then there's Jaden Walker. He might not be a household name, but man, he's made a strong case. Special teams impact, consistent effort, and even some cryptic tweets about earning his spot. You love to see the kind of hunger from a guy flying under the radar. If the Bears go with 6 wideouts, Walker's got a legit shot. At tight end, the projection is 3. Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, and Durham Smythe. In the past, maybe you carry 4, especially if you run a lot of 2 tight end sets. But if everyone's healthy, there's really no need. Plus, you can keep Joel Wilson and Steven Carlson on the practice squad, assuming they clear. Carlson's more of a vet, so he might slide through. Wilson, less likely, especially after showing out in the preseason. But if the Bears pull it off, those 2 become emergency call-up options for game days. Don't forget, practice squad players can be elevated up to 3 times during the regular season without needing a full roster spot. Offensive line has been a major talking point this offseason, and the Bears seem to have found their mix. Braxton Jones is probably your left tackle. No official word yet, but the signs point that way. Joe Thuney, Drew Dalman, Jonah Jackson, and Darnell Wright round out your starters. Backups? Aussie Trapillo, Ryan Bates, and Luke Newman are in. Newman's had a strong camp and locked down a spot. Theo Benedict is close to a lock too. That brings us to Kieran Amagagi. Look, he hasn't lived up to expectations yet, but it's way too soon to give up on a third-round pick. The tools are there. Development is still possible. A team like Atlanta might be interested in a trade. They've had some tackle injuries, but unless you're getting something decent in return, it makes more sense to hold and develop. Now, let's flip to the defense. 10 defensive linemen might sound like overkill, but given the way this team wants to rotate up front, it actually makes sense. Montez Sweat, Deo Odiingbo, Grady Jarrett, Jervin Dexter, and Andrew Billings are your locks. There's been some chatter that Billings might be a scheme mismatch, but come on, he's your best run stuffer. Cutting him will be baffling. Shamar Turner hasn't had much camp action, but he's a rookie with upside. He's in. Chris Williams, after a strong preseason, edges out guys like Zach Pickens and Jonathan Ford. Those two could land on the practice squad if they clear. Austin Booker is another wild card. He's banged up and could go on short-term IR, giving the team some flexibility. The real drama is at edge. Daniel Hardy, Tano Pacino, and Dominique Robinson are all fighting for what might be one or two spots. Hardy has special teams value and made plays in the final preseason game. Tano is a Dennis Allen guy and brings veteran savvy. Robinson? He started out training camp strong, but injuries and a quiet final game might have cost him. If the team keeps 5 defensive ends, Robinson could be the odd man out. Not a move everyone will agree with, but it's the kind of decision that comes down to performance, availability, and system fit. Linebacker is a little more stable. 5 guys are making it. TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Noah Sewell, Ruben Hippolyte, and Ian Agagbeam. No surprises there. No need to carry more, no room to carry less. It's a clean 5-man unit with defined roles and backups. Cornerback is where things get dicey again. Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon are your top dogs. Tariq Stevenson is likely starting opposite Johnson. Then it gets complicated. Terrell Smith is out for the year, and Zay Frazier has been dealing with some personal matters that have kept him away from camp entirely. The team still believes in him. They used a 5th-round pick on the guy, and Al Harris reportedly loves him. So they're probably not giving up. Most likely, they stash him on a non-football injury list or some other short-term designation to avoid exposing him to waivers. Behind the top 3, you've got Jalen Wright and Josh Blackwell. Wright didn't flash much in preseason games, but had a strong camp. Blackwell is a special teams ace and makes it purely for that role. Then there's Nick McLeod. He's quietly had a good camp and might actually be the backup nickel over Blackwell. At safety, it's the same group that's been in place all summer. Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, Elijah Hicks, and Jonathan Owens. Major Burns might have had a chance to make things interesting, but he got hurt early and never really recovered. Alex Cook had moments, but just not enough to push out one of the 4 core guys. Special teams? Simple. Cairo Santos is your kicker. Torrey Taylor's the punter. Scott Daly's the long snapper. Could Luke Elkin sneak in and take Daly's job? Maybe. But honestly, if we're talking long snappers, it's probably time to wrap things up. But before we do, one more piece of the puzzle, the practice squad. This is where the Bears get creative. Austin Reed sticks around. He's a QB, he's a vibes guy, and you never know when you'll need that emergency call-up. Ian Wheeler and Britton Brown are back there too. Brown ran hard in preseason. Wheeler showed flashes. Maurice Alexander is your return backup. If something happens to Duvernay, Alexander's the next man up. Tyler Scott is a gamble. Someone might claim him, but if not, he's a valuable project player. Joel Wilson and Steven Carlson are back at tight end. Doug Kramer and Jordan McFadden give you interior offensive line depth. Zach Pickens and Jonathan Ford offer some muscle on the defensive line. Dominic Robinson? If he clears waivers, you keep developing him. Power Eccles and Carl Jones round out your linebackers. Alex Cook is your extra safety, and Trey Flowers, the veteran corner, gives you a little more depth in a thin spot, especially with Jalen still recovering and Terrell Smith done for the year. What makes this particular Bears roster projection so fascinating is not just who made it and who didn't, but the level of uncertainty still hanging over key spots. You can feel it in the running back room, especially. DeAndre Swift is locked in as the lead back, and Kyle Monangai impressed enough to secure a place behind him. But beyond those two, it's a guessing game. Travis Homer brings special teams value, which can often be the difference between staying or going. But even then, his health status complicates things. If he's not 100%, are the Bears really going to carry him on the active roster instead of opening that slot for someone healthier or more versatile? That brings us right back to Roscoe Johnson. It's wild to think about how fast things have changed for him. This was a guy expected to have a real role this year, maybe even push Swift for touches, and now we're not even sure if he's practicing. The Bears have been tight-lipped about his injury, calling it a foot issue, but the lack of visibility is what's raising eyebrows. He hasn't been spotted on the sidelines, hasn't appeared in the background of clips or photos, nothing. For a guy that many pegged as a breakout candidate, the silence is deafening. The most realistic path is the short-term IR designation. That protects him from waivers, gives him a few weeks to get right, and opens a spot for someone like Britton Brown, who showed he can run with power during preseason. But still, for a team looking to lean on the run game, the instability in that position group is far from ideal. Now, back to the wide receiver room, and this is where things really highlight the shifting identity of the team. You've got your high-end talent in DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. Moore is the proven veteran, the alpha in the room, while Odunze, the rookie, has already shown flashes that make it clear why the Bears use such a high pick on him. Zach Coase and Luther Burden round out the core. Burden's route running has been clean, and he's got a knack for finding the soft spots in coverage. Zach Coase brings that veteran presence with just enough juice after the catch to keep defenses honest. But then you look at the bottom of the depth chart, and it's all about special teams and versatility. Duvernay, when healthy, is a lock as the return man. That's not up for debate. The question was always whether the Bears would go with 5 wideouts or stretch it to 6. Jaden Walker forced their hand. The guy's been grinding. He may not have the highlight reel catches or the big-name pedigree, but he did all the little things. His special teams reps, his energy, even his attitude, it all translated into a roster-worthy performance. That tweet he sent out, "Nothing promised, everything earned," really tells the story. This is a guy who knows the odds were against him, who remembers not getting a combine invite, and yet found a way to prove himself. If you're building a culture, those are the types of guys you keep around. Tight end, as simple as it seems, might be one of the more overlooked stories. Cole Cam ET is your starter, no question. COLSTON Loveland and Durham Smythe round out the trio. It's a clean group. No need to overcomplicate it. Some fans wanted 4, and earlier in the offseason that looked plausible, especially with how often Ben Johnson likes 2 tight end sets. But if everyone's healthy, you just don't need that extra guy eating up a spot. That said, Joel Wilson and Steven Carlson staying close on the practice squad gives the Bears options. If an injury pops up, or if matchups call for heavier sets, they can bring one up for a few weeks without burning a full-time spot. It's smart roster mechanics. Every move here tells a story. Some are about the present. Others are about the future. And a few are just about giving a guy one more chance to prove he belongs. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Colston Loveland, the promising wide receiver for the Chicago Bears, reportedly suffered an injury during practice earlier this week, sparking a wave of speculation and concern among fans and analysts alike. Sources close to the team suggest that the injury occurred during a routine drill, though the exact nature and severity remain unclear, leaving many to wonder how this will affect the Bears' offensive strategy moving forward. Rumors indicate that team officials are being cautious with public statements, perhaps to avoid fueling panic among supporters who have high expectations for Loveland this season. The timing of this injury is particularly sensitive, as the Bears are currently navigating a competitive phase of their schedule, and Loveland has been considered a key asset in their passing game. Known for his agility, speed, and ability to make critical receptions under pressure. Conversations in sports circles suggest that if Loveland is sidelined for an extended period, it could open opportunities for backup receivers or force the coaching staff to adjust their game plans, potentially altering quarterback dynamics and red zone efficiency. This incident has inevitably led to social media chatter, with fans dissecting practice footage, speculating on the severity of the injury, and debating whether the team's medical staff will opt for a conservative or aggressive rehabilitation approach. The Bears' locker room is reportedly buzzing with tension as players try to stay focused while dealing with the uncertainty surrounding COLSTON Loveland's status. Insider whispers indicate that teammates are privately expressing concern, emphasizing how pivotal Loveland has been in fostering morale and contributing to a sense of cohesion on the field. Analysts speculate that the injury could impact more than just the immediate season, hinting at potential ripple effects on player contracts, draft strategies, and even the perception of the team's long-term offensive potential. Sources close to coaching staff suggest that meetings have been ongoing to explore alternative formations and plays that would compensate for Loveland's temporary absence, though nothing has been officially confirmed. Rumors have also circulated that rival teams are closely monitoring the situation, possibly preparing to exploit any vulnerabilities the Bears might face without their star receiver fully available. Sports betting circles have taken notice as well, with speculative shifts in odds reflecting the uncertainty, demonstrating how quickly a single injury can influence broader perceptions of team strength and competitiveness. While official updates remain sparse, the persistent chatter among insiders, commentators, and fan forums underscores how much attention Loveland's well-being commands, transforming what might be a routine injury report into a subject of wide-ranging debate, analysis, and conjecture. Medical insiders who are familiar with the Bears team protocols are quietly fueling speculation regarding the potential recovery timeline for COLSTON Loveland. Sources suggest that the team's medical staff is conducting detailed evaluations, including imaging scans and physical assessments, to determine whether the injury will require rest, therapy, or a more intensive rehabilitation regimen. Analysts point out that Loveland's history of minor injuries, if any, could influence both the severity of the current injury and the approach the team takes to manage it. Social media analysts and sports bloggers have begun hypothesizing alternative scenarios, from a speedy return that minimizes disruption to the team, to a prolonged absence that could reshape the Bears' offensive priorities entirely. Rumors further suggest that coaching decisions may be influenced by considerations beyond the field, including fan expectations, media scrutiny, and the need to preserve Loveland's long-term career trajectory. There is also speculation about how this might affect team morale, as players often look to key figures like Loveland for leadership, motivation, and confidence in high-pressure situations. Observers note that even subtle changes in practice intensity, play calling, and formation adjustments could ripple outward, producing unexpected consequences in game performance, overall team synergy, and even the perception of the Bears as a title-contending squad. The buzz surrounding the situation highlights how a single injury can generate a storm of speculation, blurring the lines between factual reporting and rumor-driven discourse. Among fans, the reaction has been intense and multifaceted, with social media serving as a hotbed for both speculation and reassurance regarding COLSTON Loveland's condition. Many supporters are dissecting photos, clips, and unofficial reports, attempting to assess whether the injury is a minor setback or a major obstacle. Fan forums have become breeding grounds for theory crafting, where individuals debate everything from potential substitutes to the strategic implications of Loveland's absence. Meanwhile, some commentators warn against premature conclusions, emphasizing that the team may intentionally withhold certain details until a clearer picture emerges. Nevertheless, the rumor mill continues to churn, with suggestions that rival franchises could leverage this moment of uncertainty to their advantage, both on and off the field. Discussions have extended to fantasy football circles, where Loveland's injury could dramatically alter projections, lineups, and valuation metrics, feeding the perception that his absence, or a delayed return, could impact multiple layers of the sports ecosystem. The intensity of fan reaction underscores the central role Loveland plays not only as a key receiver, but also as a figure around whom narratives of hope, potential, and uncertainty coalesce. This dynamic fuels a continuing wave of conversation, speculation, and rumor that shows no signs of abating as stakeholders eagerly await clarity from team officials, medical staff, and credible insider sources regarding the true extent of his injury and its implications for the Bears' immediate and long-term prospects. Whispers from within the Bears organization indicate that internal deliberations are ongoing regarding Colston Loveland's role in upcoming games and whether modifications to the roster may be required. Unverified reports suggest that management is carefully weighing options, considering both short-term tactical adjustments and longer-term planning that could include temporary replacements, changes in play calling, and strategic shifts in offensive positioning. Industry insiders speculate that these deliberations are as much about maintaining team confidence and cohesion as they are about immediate performance on the field. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.